Hey, everybody. This seemed like the hardest. No, this was definitely the hardest StreamYard to get started. It's like Gremlins didn't want me to make it. And yet, I felt it had to be made. This had to be done and had to be out there and had to be said.
Like Gremlins didn't want me to make it.
I'll tell you why.
And yet, I felt it had to be made. This had to be done and had to be out there and had to be said. Like Gremlins didn't want.
Yeah, and I can't repeat that enough. It had to be made. And I'll tell you why it had to be made. Because if I go out right now and do a search for Eric Bieniemy, if I just put Eric Bieniemy, okay, and Byron Leftwich in a Google search, okay, expecting, to see some media organization, some other media organization other than me, some media organization say, hey, you know what, Eric Bieniemy and Byron Leftwich are the first two African American to ever coach, all right, are the first opposing black team coaches, right? The first, all right? You don't see it. I mean, let me show you, because I just did it. I just typed it. Let me show you what I found right now in Google. And right here with Eric Bieniemy, Byron Leftwich, allow, moves over. See there, okay? Now, note this. What is you've got Bucs, Byron Leftwich here as I highlight this, okay? Coach on the rise, all right? Eric Bieniemy, Byron Leftwich, talking about why these two aren't any of the top of the list is mind-boggling, but it doesn't mention the history. The only one that does is the one that's just right up now. That's this one. This is mine. See that? Okay? In videos, all right? And then the NFL Network on Twitter, Eric Bieniemy, Byron Leftwich, Steve Mariucci, and Mark Ross look at names drawing attention. Coaching. But people forget the fact that we are in the middle of history. If I scroll down, same thing. Right now, they're the only two black offensive coordinators in the NFL. They're also both representing Super Bowl teams for Super Bowl 55. And there's the best discussion regarding Bieniemy and everything else, and Byron Leftwich. But everybody missed history. And that just shows you just the state of media today. Everyone missed history. Even black media organizations missed it. That should have been the first thing that anyone noticed, other than me. It was the first thing that I noticed because I guess I'm just wired that way. I was there when Tony Dungy, I was really at the Super Bowl when Tony Dungy for the Colts and Lovie Smith for the Chicago Bears were the first two black coaches, two black coaches ever to represent opposing teams in a Super Bowl. Okay. That was a fantastic game. It was an exciting game. It was the game that Prince served as the Super Bowl halftime entertainment and was the game where we got drenched. I mean, just rained on like nobody's business after a glorious, beautiful Super Bowl week. Not a rain cloud in the sky. No problem right up until approximately 9:39 in the morning of the game when we were headed to the NFL Experience. And going in, I felt the raindrop, and I thought, you know what? I better buy a coat because all I have is this Tommy Bahama shirt and khaki shorts and loafers, specifically Timberland loafers. That was it, okay? And so I bought the coat that I still have today. History that was made. So you would say, all right, what's the significance of this other than that they're two black offensive coordinators representing opposing teams? Well, aside from the fact that that's the significance, it means that we have an ascension of recognition. And hear what I'm saying. An ascension of recognition of the fact that a person doesn't have to be white to design an offense in the NFL or to be the person that instructs the quarterbacks what to do, or to come up with different scenarios like the red zone offense in the case of the Kansas City Chiefs, or any number of approaches and scenarios for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. You have to give Byron Leftwich a lot of credit. He has successfully stewarded two quarterbacks, not too different, both sharpshooters. Jameis Winston first, and then Tom Brady this time. And but for lack of adjustment or time to adjust the offense, Jameis Winston would have been in the playoffs last year. You could also say but for an interception. And I will counter back with but for a play call that should never have been called to begin with that the Atlanta Falcons knew was coming. That was Arians' design. Arians had poured all of these new coaches in, including Leftwich, and they all had to first get to know each other and working together, right? And then adjust to how they're going to deal with what are called live bullets when you're actually playing a real NFL game that counts. Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians had the offseason to discuss what went wrong and chart a plan for the course of the future, and then lay out and execute that plan. And led by Bruce Arians, they were able to say, okay, we'll adjust, but Byron Leftwich was the one who was consistently working with Brady to come up with plays and make sure that everything melded together between the existing Bucs and the new Bucs, not just Tom Brady, but also Rob Gronkowski most notably, and Leonard Fournette, who came over from the Jaguars. So Byron deserves a great deal of credit for being, in a sense, the adult in the room between an occasionally overly critical Bruce Arians to Tom Brady, who had a right to be overly sensitive considering where he had come from in New England, to, Tom Brady, who, just he wants to win. He's hungry. Tom Brady is hungry to prove that what happened to him in New England was not just the product of the system. It was also him. And he didn't get to do a lot of what he wanted to do, and now he does. That cohesion would not have happened without an offensive coordinator that knew how to bring together the existing staff and what they do, and the new guy and his people and what they want to do. And that's where Byron Leftwich came in. Eric Bieniemy is Andy Reid's alter ego. Well, not alter ego, but he's Andy Reid's second. He is the person that is charged to think like Andy Reid, but also charged with properly implementing the talents of not just Patrick Mahomes, but also Chad Henne. It was Eric that made sure that these players understood the system and were able to go in a plug-and-play way and be effective. You can't say enough for people who have that talent. That's something that's not appreciated at all. And right now, all the talk with Eric Bieniemy has to do with the head coaching job and why he's not getting a head coaching job. But I remind everybody of something. This is not the first year that Eric Bieniemy has been interviewed for a head coaching job. He has come up to be interviewed a number of times. And, don't look at his Wikipedia, because the Wikipedia is written, and it should be written by Chiefs public relations personnel to give a better and glowing picture of him. Instead, it has a big section on his legal issues, which really go back to like 1993, and there's nothing in the 2000s or anything else. And yet you have people on Twitter taking this stuff because they don't want to see somebody black, and they mention this. Yet some of those same people that put this stuff out on Twitter also voted for our last president, who was known for grabbing women by the hoo-ha, or saying that he did it, and all sorts of terrible things, including basically ordering a march that caused the death of 5 people. Okay, I can go on and on and on, and yet some of those folks would have the nerve to basically post the baby errors by comparison that Eric Bieniemy made. That's got nothing to do with the 21st century Bieniemy, the adult Bieniemy, or the right now. The Eric Bieniemy you need to pay attention to is the Eric Bieniemy that is the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs and the architect of how they got there. And this is his 8th season as offensive coordinator, and his 8th season on the coaching staff, but his 3rd as offensive coordinator. And this is his 2nd year where he has been interviewed for head coaching positions. Actually, his 3rd year, because he started being interviewed as recently as his 1st year as offensive coordinator. But then when the Super Bowl victory came about with Patrick Mahomes that first year, last year, he was up for being interviewed, but of course he was getting the Chiefs ready for the Super Bowl and the playoffs prior to that. And now here we go again. I believe myself that Eric Bieniemy's reason he's not getting hired right off the bat has to do with a presentation that says, I know more than you, and I'm black. And it's not intentional, but I believe that Eric Bieniemy suffers the problem of being a smart guy. And a lot of people don't talk about that. A smart black guy in a world where you have older white men who are not accustomed to that to a significant degree to this day. And that's something that people don't talk enough about. And the trouble with black media today is, for some particular reason, black media chooses to want to coordinate itself off and talk only about black issues and black problems, but not in terms of us in the mainstream and how it needs to change. And I'm not saying it's not done at all, but it's not done enough. All right, enough. And with an eye toward the advocacy to say, hey, why aren't you hiring this guy? And why instead are you making up lies about him? Making up lies about black men in the NFL is a common, particularly within the media, is really exceptionally common practice. And so much so, people have to understand why. All right. Let me give you a taste of Eric Bieniemy in a coaching situation. This is at the press conference. This is January 9th of last year. So you can get a taste or at least an idea of what he's like as a person and how he presents himself. And I'll then talk about Bieniemy in the context of Bill O'Brien, the Houston Texans now former head coach, who I hope Bieniemy is hired to replace. But here's Eric Bieniemy, January 9th, 2020, press conference right now.
You're excited all the time. Does it go up a notch for the playoffs?
It always goes up a notch. Everything goes up a notch. It's playoff time. This is, everything that we work for. But one thing we don't want to do, we don't want to peak too soon. So we just want to make sure that we're managing our emotions, making sure we're taking the necessary steps to get ready for this game.
You see anything in practice, though? Do you see anything in practice? Like guys are getting extra hyped right now, this minute, they want to play?
Of course. Guys are always hyped. They're always excited. But we have enough leadership on this team to make sure, like I said, managing everyone's emotions. We want to be at our best when our best is needed. And the thing that we need to do is make sure that we're making the most of the process right now. All right. Making sure that we maximize yesterday's practice, but also understanding the importance of maximizing the opportunity that we all have when walking into this building today. That's going to help us to have the success that is needed on Sunday.
Coach, there's been a lot of conversation about the Rooney Rule. You have reportedly gone through 3.
Now listen to this. He's answering questions. I want you to pay attention to this. You know why? Because he's answering questions about head coaching positions. This was last year, January 9th. This is a year ago. So for those of you who are listening to the garbage about Bieniemy this time, I remind you, this is not the first time Eric Bieniemy has been interviewed. Okay. So all this stuff, let me just say it right here. if Eric Bieniemy's real problem or his rap sheet, all right, why would people interview him again and again and again? That picture is not going to change, all right? But some people out there are stupid enough to buy that fucking garbage. And that's exactly what it is. Listen to this. And then I'll get to the real reason.
4 interviews this year. What will happen? There's still one job open, still remains. But do you have any comment as to whether or not the Rooney Rule is working, whether it's doing what it was designed to do, and whether African-American coaches are getting the opportunities they should?
Well, I'll say this. I had an opportunity to interview for 3 jobs. And one thing I can say, I had a great process, a great discussion. And each and every interview is different. But at the end of the day, now all of my focus has turned on to what? The Houston Texans. It's time to make sure that our guys are ready to go to work, but also understanding the importance of what's in front of us. All right. So, all right, to piggyback off of that, yes, it's a blessing. It's always great to be mentioned. It's always great to have that opportunity to be considered in those roles. But when it's all said and done with, I work for a great organization. I work for a great boss. I work for a great owner. And on top of that, okay, we got some great people in this building that we're going to go out there and line up and play against these Texans with.
Listen, I know we've had a discussion. I'm here to ask the questions. I know this isn't your preferred line, but
okay,
you're the guy you're the tip of the spear right now, right? I mean, is the Rooney Rule working, yes or no?
Like I said, I had an opportunity to interview, okay? That should say it all, you know? It was a great conversation. Now it's on to the game.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from either those teams or other people, friends of yours in the business?
And here's the thing, and I'm going to put this out there. It's time to play against the Houston Texans, all right? You guys got to understand it. You guys know me, all right? My focus is on the Houston Texans, all right? One thing I want our guys to realize, we don't.
And this gets to why I believe some people are putting him down with respect to interviews. And the real reason is this. Some teams interview you because they want to do their due diligence on why your organization is successful with respect to theirs. The Kansas City Chiefs have been beating the crap out of people, not just with an incredible quarterback, but with an incredible system that he is at the helm of. There are some questions about that system that he is not going to walk into another room and just lay out the game plan for in its entirety and tell them exactly what they want to hear, chapter and verse, note by note. Then he gets out of the room and he doesn't have the job. He's aware of what's going on. Great teams and great organizations in college, the Alabama Crimson Tide, the New England Patriots for years with Bill Belichick sending offensive coordinator Josh McDaniel down to learn more about the read option from Urban Meyer in 2006, and then incorporating what he learned into the New England Patriots offense, all right? They are just setting up interviews with people all the time just to pick their brains. And what Eric is sensitive to, I believe, is giving away too much of what he thinks or what he's doing with the Chiefs to an opposition organization that may say, hey, look, great. We love what you did. We love the interview. But what they're really saying is we love the fact that you gave us the keys to the kingdom to how to beat you. Okay? To how to beat you. And then they say sayonara, and they go out and they note what was told, and they give it to the next person they want to hire and move forward. That's what he's trying to prevent. There are some coaches like Bill O'Brien that are not in that position. Bill O'Brien wasn't in the place where someone was trying to figure out his secret sauce or anything. And if you've ever met Bill O'Brien, and I have, he has a tendency to be a very smooth talker. And I don't say that as a pejorative. There are some coaches, Bill O'Brien is one, that understand how to mirror what the person wants and their objectives. And if you can do that, and then of course you're white, just be honest, okay, then there's a better chance you're going to get the job. How do you explain Dan Campbell? someone else remarked in another conversation about Bieniemy that Dan Campbell, he implied that Dan Campbell had a plan. This person implied that Dan Campbell had a plan, okay? That Dan Campbell had a plan, all right? So let me explain. If Dan Campbell had such a plan, then why is it that when he gets into his introductory press conference, right, he says stuff like this. This is what he said, and basically it made my hair stand on end. And I'm thinking they actually hired this guy that you're about to see. This is the guy that they hired. Listen to this. This guy sounds like Tony Soprano, all right? Straight up Tony Soprano.
Found a way to get up, all right? It's found a way to overcome adversity, all right? And so this team's going to be built on, we're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down, all right? And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before
Now, hold on a second. The fuck is that? Okay? I mean, seriously. And you're going to interview a guy. If he came across like that in the interview, the Lions are fools for hiring him. Let's keep going.
we're going to be the last one standing. All right, that's going to be the mentality.
So, folks, that's it. If you play against the Detroit Lions, you're going to get kneecapped, and you get kneecapped again, and you get kneecapped again. A perfect cast member for the remake of The Sopranos.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Would you rather have that guy, all right?
How we doing today?
Or this guy? Okay, I'm sorry, folks.
How we doing today?
I'd rather have this guy.
How excited
Okay.
are you? You're excited all the time.
I don't want a guy that's going to basically tell me that all this stuff that has nothing to do about nothing. He sounds like Mike Ditka.
Not just in here, but with players, with other people reaching out to you about something that you're trying to worry about right now this week.
But I'll say this: I have a way of ignoring everyone. I turn my phones off, so I just turn everything off. And at the end of the day, I just work. That's who I am. You know what I mean? So, and you learn early in your profession. I learned this as a player. Hey, in order for you to obtain the goals that you want to obtain, you got to remain focused and live in the now. And so that's what this is about. The only thing that matters is the opportunity that we have today to help us for Sunday.
One thing that's gone out there is over the bye, you guys were able to go one.
And if that's not clear and definite, I don't know what is. Okay, so there's all of this stuff that people make up. Doug Gottlieb makes up stuff and says it on CBS, and it gets spurted off into the airwaves, and it becomes a stupid nothingness. And you have a complete lack of Black-owned media organizations that get out and have their own voice, okay? And mine is owned by me, 70%. And I look around, I think, well, who else is there? Robert Littal, Black Sports Online. I don't see him making commentary by video. He's more the, hey, what was the smut that happened today with Drake, but it's on Black Sports website kind of thing, all right? Works for him, I guess. That's not my style. There's an emerging group of people on YouTube who are not all together, but we're also on YouTube. But among people who are NFL credentialed, who are Black and male, you have Jim Trotter with the NFL Network, who speaks when they allow him to. That's white-owned. Again, who's Black? Where are the Black-owned organizations? In an era where it's easier than ever to start a Black-owned media company. And I mean a true company. All right? So where are we? Why are there so few of us? All right, before I get to that, let me switch gears and talk about Byron Leftwich, who I believe is going to wind up hosting the Super Bowl trophy over his head in an upset. Yes, I said that. In an upset over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But and I think Byron gets because of the presence of Tom Brady and Bruce Arians, he gets very little exposure and respect for what he has done. And I think it's equally, criminal. But here is Byron Leftwich with the media.
We'll see.
Right here.
It's constant.
Excuse me.
Started fast in every game. How much of that is, you started fast in every game? How much of that is, you go over those 15 plays or that first drive and the execution's been great, and how do you maintain that, throughout the second half as well?
It's just constant. It's really constant execution of what you said, and really that's happening early in the games. We all know, each football game comes with 50, 60, 70 plays, and you got to be able to execute consistently down in and down out. I think we've done a great job of that coming into football games. I think we did a good job of that, really, of trying to execute in the second half. I think what's happened is the third quarter has been a big quarter for us, where we've gotten a lot of penalties, and we're in a lot of 2nd and 20s, 1st and 20s. And in this league, that's going to always put you in 3rd and long, and you try your best to stay out of those situations, because obviously you're not going to convert a high percentage of those. So we're just trying to be smarter on 1st and 2nd down to put us in better position for 3rd down, so we ain't in so many 3rd and longs. But that's what's killing us in the second half of last week, really in the second half of the week before. The penalties that we've gotten in the second half just put us in bad positions.
And I know you say you never want to force the football, right? But we saw, maybe based on coverage, that Gronk, especially, and some OJ were really involved. As a play caller, I know you look for those opportunities. Is it up to you to get those guys involved as well?
Yeah, but you can't control what the defense does, right? You can't really control. If they want to put 3 on Mike, they're going to put 3 on Mike, If they want to do what they want to do, they're going to do what they feel as though they have to do. We got to be structured in the way that the guy that get the one-on-one matchup, the guy that the ball do go to, makes the play. And I think that's what we're trying to develop. Like I tell you, don't force feed it. We'll get guys the ball. I'm always trying to put these guys in position. So everything is thought out all the time. Sometimes the ball don't come his way, but obviously it came his way last week, and we'll see.
Thanks.
And see, right there, you have a person who he's as a quarterback, okay? And yeah, I think he's going to make a great head coach in the future too. And as a quarterback, you can see how his mind is thinking. He's always thinking in terms of, how do I structure the play to get the offensive receiver the ball, who I know can be effective, I know wants to contribute, but the defense maybe isn't quite giving me the kind of opportunity that I would like, so I have to structure something different. You could just tell in just a few seconds of listening to him that that's how his mind is working, all right? So again, these are the guys that are leaders of the brain trust. And where we have to go now is the same as we do for someone like a Dan Campbell. Believe in that person. Don't consistently look for things that are wrong, because the truth is you're not comfortable with somebody black in charge. This ought to mark the time that we're beyond that, okay? And yet we don't seem to be. If the world were as perfect as people think it is when someone white is in charge, we wouldn't have had the Challenger incident. 2 of them, I might add, the Challenger and the Challenger, okay? We wouldn't have had those disastrous incidents. There are a number of problems, including, look at how we're handling the pandemic now, that would be, if truly someone white was smarter or better, it wouldn't be a problem. But the reality is thinking that way is wrong. If you have 5 different directions to go in terms of making a choice, in terms of investments, okay? All right? And I tell you to find that one, but then I tell you this, okay? I say, this direction is going to lead you into an area that is ran by somebody black, or this direction is going to lead you into an area that's ran by somebody who's Asian, or this direction is going to lead you into an area that's ran by somebody that is Jewish, or this direction is going to lead you in an area that's ran by somebody who is Anglo from England, okay? And this is an American Indian. If I give you those choices and you decide not to go to one because, I mean, if you're starting here and you don't go in one direction for any reason, maybe you're black, you're not comfortable with somebody white, whatever the reason, you're missing out on possibly finding the best investment you can. You don't do that mathematically. You look at all options, you evaluate them, and if you can, test them, and then you go with the one that works. But there are people who would close out these options, okay, or close out this option, or close out that option, and leave themselves with just 3 options. And what happens when you do that? You have less of a chance of finding the right answer, the investment path that benefits you. Why? Because of your own prejudices. That's why racism is a mental illness, because it causes people to go in directions that really are not best for them, rather than looking at the whole and enjoying the benefits of appreciating diversity and the possibility that the right answer may be found in a place that you didn't think existed. If you took off race and you thought about it as cryptocurrency, you would think, hey, if there's more than just Bitcoin out there, right? There's Tesla, and there is ClickBank, and there's Ethereum, which I have as well. All right. There are 128 different types of cryptocurrencies. And only an idiot would avoid finding out about the new cryptocurrencies to take advantage of those possible investment opportunities by starting low and, hoping that they grow high, right? For whatever reason. If you're going to look at cryptocurrencies that way, you should also look at people that way. A lot of the times we don't. We fool ourselves, but we really don't. And that's why we wind up with what we have in the National Football League. We have people who, in their head, are comfortable with the idea that a black person who runs fast should be a running back. Or if they are a quarterback and they can run, then they should be a running quarterback as opposed to a quarterback who can throw, but maybe you put him on a sprint out or rollout pass just to give him the option of running rather than running him to death and running the risk of that person getting injured and out of the league quickly, like happened to RG3 for a spell and could happen to Lamar Jackson. I know Lamar Jackson is unquestionably the most exciting player in the NFL, but my point is, at what cost? The way the Baltimore Ravens are employing Lamar Jackson is so unintelligent, it makes me hurl. There's a better way. So my point is this: you got to remember that at the end of the day, we are in the business of analysis. So if you can hire a person as your head coach who, hey, Dave, how you doing? Who's 4'11", okay? And then allow that person to coach players and stand on a stoop and talk with them and produce Super Bowls, which is what Mike Shanahan did. Why can't you hire Eric Bieniemy or Byron Leftwich, this guy, to run your organization? But more important, why can't you allow Mr. Leftwich here, Mr. Bieniemy here, to be the head coach of your organization, the Kansas City Chiefs, after his, do you realize that
because these guys have always had to
in 2 of his 3 years as offensive coordinator, he's marched to the Super Bowl. Now, I know a lot of people take comfort in, Andy Reid being there, but look, if that's the case, Andy could get anybody else if Eric didn't pan out. But Eric is there for a reason. He's there because he understands how to manage the offense that Andy Reid put together. He understands how to pepper in his ideas, particularly when it comes to the red zone, where he's come up with really interesting and fascinating, innovative stuff. And he understands how to get the right personnel packages and groupings. He is an obviously determined, focused, and smart man.
In this industry is that I'm a focus-driven individual.
Like I said.
Okay. But what drives me is the success that we as a group have, that we as a team have. And I think that's important. So when it's all said and done with, the things that I'm looking forward to, all right, I'm looking forward to today's challenge, seeing how we're going to handle the adversity that we're going to put on.
Right. And then let's go forward a bit.
It's all about the familiarity and just the union of that five playing together. Now, I know we've had different pieces that are filled in those roles.
Let's go back here. This is interesting.
You were missing Eric Fisher for about half the season, and the numbers between him and the lineup is not. There's a significant difference there. What is it about Eric that gives you something extra, and especially in a game like this when he's going up against Wapping?
You know what? Eric's been in this league now for 7 years, and each and every year you just see the growth and the maturity in it. And he brings a lot to the table. He's played a lot of football. And the thing that he brings to the table is his experience. He also does a great job of communicating with his guys. I think it's just all about the familiarity and just the union of that five playing together. Now, I know we've had different pieces that are filled in those roles, but at the end of the day, it's just about him being back on that field, being in rhythm, being in sync, and just having a feel for the game. And one thing that I appreciate about Fish is he's going to play his ass off, all right? He's going to give you all that he has for that one particular play. And then you know what? He's going to line up and do it all over again, good, bad, or indifferent.
That's a man who knows his players. And Raul asked me a question I want to go back to. He said, Lions head coach press conference said, "Oh, did you watch?" Yes, I did. And you obviously just arrived here. But I'll go back in history and I'll show you again what I thought of what Mr. Campbell did, and was not a fan of it. But you did ask me if I watched. And this is Dan Campbell. And repeat, this is what I said. This is what it is, okay?
Found a way to get up.
Let me go back here, all right?
New Detroit Lions head coach Dan Campbell going full on Tony Soprano. You got to listen to this.
This place has been kicked, it's been battered, it's been bruised, and I can sit up here and give you coach speak all day long. I can give you, hey, we're going to win this many games. I can't. None of that matters, and you guys don't want to hear it anyway. You've had enough of that shit. So excuse my language. All right. Here's what I do know is that this team is going to take on the identity of this city. All right. And this city's been down, and it found a way to get up. All right. It's found a way to overcome adversity. All right. And so this team's going to be built on, we're going to kick you in the teeth. All right. And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off. All right. And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. All right. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap and we're going to get up. And then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing. All right. That's going to be the mentality.
So, folks, that's it.
The Detroit Killers, ladies and gentlemen. The Detroit Killers. That's what we've got, the Detroit Killers. Jeez Louise. Nothing about offensive mentality or offensive approach or philosophy or defensive or anything like that, okay? And it's not exciting. And again, I say to you this. If John Marks, I think that's John Marks says that's the Raider mentality. Nah, not really. That's not the Raider mentality. That's the Raider mentality. Let me tell you what the Raider mentality was under Al Davis, okay? It was on offense to stretch the field, use the width of the field and the length of it to count on speed and power in the running game, speed in the passing game. On defense, aggressive bump and run. Man for man. They weren't known for blitzing, but they would blitz when it was necessary. And on a more detailed level, they were not a team that single gap much, something I disagree with. They're more two gap in their approach 7 in the box, be it 4-3 or 3-4 in their history. The Raiders had a philosophy that came down from Al Davis during that time. And the simple fact that I can recite it to you is because the Raiders' brand was built in part on how they approached offense and defense. There was a kind of a science behind what you would think was rough and tumble. But I was more interested as basically an engineering thinking, systems thinking kind of guy in how you produce that from the inside out, right? This whole fact that I can recite that to you is because the Raiders under Al Davis let you know that was their game. So much so if they deviated from it, hey, it was news. If they deviated from it, it was for a strategic reason or a personnel reason or some combination of both. In football, personnel dictates strategy to a degree, okay? So David Compton said, yeah, the bomb. Or as I like to say, to show people, there are a number of expressions of this. Not so much the bomb, but my favorite is encapsulated in this famous photograph featuring the late Cliff Branch, all right? And the famous sign here, okay, that I so love. I so love. And when you see it, you'll go, if you are aware of this at all, you'll say, oh, yeah. And it will remind you of what the Raiders were all about. You see that right there? Speed kills. 21 Branch. In the north corner, in the north end zone of the Coliseum. If you know the Coliseum, you know where that is. Right there is all you need to know about the Raiders offense. They did it with Cliff Branch. They did it with Warren Wells. They did it with Ghost to the Post, Dave Casper. They did it with my friend Raymond Chester, who's been on these broadcasts and should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. Speed kills. Goes to the Post was, hey, the post pattern with Branch. All right? If you want to understand Raider plays, you can just type Raiders football, okay? Raiders passing, John Madden, like that. And you type 94 corner, number 10 swing. It's a famous play the Raiders ran that if I'm not able to find it here in terms of an image, I'm actually going to then make a blog post about it later and then draw it because it's not here. And the simple fact that that play is not here is a crime, complete crime. 94 corner, number 10 swing, is not here listed as a play. Let me try playbook, okay? Still not here, all right? And it's not, these Raider playbooks don't reflect it. Let me go down a bit. That play isn't even it, all right? At all. First, it came out of a slot, and 94 corner had the tight end running to the corner, okay? And Rawls says, speed kills, and then just win, go long, and take what you want. Right. We don't let the defense dictate to us. We dictate to the defense. That was Al Davis. But think about what that means. That means that you have to sustain your blocks for a long time, and you have to be willing to design plays that force the deep throw. In the old days, it was easier to do because defensive backs were seldom as fast as wide receivers. Now you can't do that. So now what you have to do, if I were the Raiders, is if I were coaching, even offensive coordinator, I would go back to study what Bill Walsh brought into the league when he took the Sid Gilman, Al Davis offense and turned it into the Bill Walsh offense, something the media doesn't talk about because the media doesn't know what the fuck it's talking about most of the time. But Bill Walsh will tell you this. I had the pleasure of interviewing him for the Montclair in 1994. That his primary receiver is always going deep. Journey to clear out. One of his most effective plays was a post corner post route ran by a number of people, Dwight Clark and Ronaldo Nehemiah, okay, for a touchdown. So you have to have shake routes like that that are not in the Raiders' arsenal, and Henry Ruggs needs to run from a rollout play, which gives Derek Carr time to throw. You have to be intelligent enough to realize that today, and I'm saying it just like that, that the defenders of today are super fast, and in some cases faster than their offensive counterparts. And so you have to coach accordingly. You can't think, I'm just going to outrun them. Maybe, but now you got to outshake them and outsmart them. Raiders could have had 4 foot. Yeah, that's right. Well, I think a lot of things. I think, you forget about the Denver Broncos. And I was there for the rise of the Broncos under Red Miller. And, I hated the Broncos. Oh, I hated them with a passion. Oh, my Lord. I hated them so much it hurts me to just think about it right now. I could not stand them. I couldn't stand the Orange Crush and Tom Jackson and Randy Gradishar and who else? Lyle Alzado, who actually turned out to be Mike Darter's roommate. And I don't mean it personally, but you know what I mean. I was in high school. Otis Sistrunk had just befriended my mom. He was at our place the year that the Raiders went to the Super Bowl. So, but the Broncos and that 3-4 and Haven Moses catching that 74-yard touchdown pass off of what we now call a wheel route. And I remember to this day the diagram of that in the San Francisco Examiner and just studying it again and again and again and again and again because you didn't have the internet in those days. That's all you had. And you were grateful that somebody with a news organization took time to draw up a pattern of the play and described how it worked and all that stuff. You don't see that a lot today in normal publications. You have to go to more specialized things like what Chris Brown was doing with Grantland before Grantland went out of business and all that. Or what I try to do on occasion, and I need to do more of. But today, getting back to the Orange Crush, anybody watching this, and I'm going to take a momentary aside to understand what the Broncos brought to football at the time, watch the 1978 Super Bowl game, because I dare you to find anything in that game that is not a contemporary of today. You want tight end arounds in that game. Tight end screens, the Cowboys are running them. 3-4 defense, the Broncos. Blitzing their middle linebacker, Broncos are doing it. Inside linebacker, the Broncos are doing it. Outside and inside linebacker, Broncos are doing it. All right? It's not so much that football doesn't change much, but there are some places and times in the game where the schemes are really advanced. And I even told Dan Quinn when he was the head of the Falcons, and I saw him last year at the NFL Combine. We were at this is a great steak restaurant that's across the street from the convention center, the name of which just flew out of my head for a second. But at any rate, I was saying, hey, watch that game. Because in his case, what I thought was really cool were the Cowboys had, out of I formation, this fullback dive fake pass to the tight end over the middle, which I could see the Falcons running today. perfect. Why did I think about that for the Falcons? Because it fit Dan Quinn's philosophy of offense. Power running, effective play action passing, and was right there and with great block. Okay. All right. Great blocking. David Compton said, tell it, brother, different, no damn good. No, they were good. That's why I hated them. It was like driving me nuts. I was at the game, Dave, where they made Stabler throw 4 interceptions. All right. John says, Denver lost big time. Rob Lytle's fumbles, Raiders recover. Yep, that's right. Beautiful Harvey Martin and late beautiful Harvey Martin and Randy White, NFL Hall of Famers both. I believe the first defensive MVPs in NFL history. Co-MVPs. All right. I mean, that's my favorite games to watch in its entirety, and the summary of expertly produced by NFL Films. Just something else. All right, folks. I love talking about this stuff. And I'm glad, hey, those of you who haven't had a chance, please look at, and I'm going to divide this too, but I really want you to take a look at another man who I believe, and I'm really going to start pushing to get hired in the NFL, even as a consultant, because he's a brilliant guy who really cares about his students, his players, and was the man who really developed Jared Goff at Cal. And I just really had a heck of a fun time having him on my show here. And that man is none other than Coach Tony Franklin. Watch this. Just type Tony Franklin Zenny 62. It's divided. Hey, David, thank you so much. It's divided. Thank you for the investment. I have to put David on the stock train. It's divided in different sections on how he handled the COVID-19 problem at Middle Tennessee State University. And then, of course, we talked about Cal and Jared Goff and his philosophy of offense, the Tony Franklin system. I really enjoyed that. I'm going to have him back from where I'm going to take that beautiful talk and divide it up. But it's almost 2:00, and I think I'm about talked out. All right, folks. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to Zenny 62. Mr. Compton, thank you so much. God bless you all. I'll be back with more as we lead up to Super Bowl 55. All right, thank you so much. That ends this broadcast.